Alchemize your energy. Darling, let your spirit be free. Don't give up, keep on pushing through. Now is the time, it's all up to you. Alchemize your energy, my friend. Let your spirit be free. Don't give up, keep on pushing through. Now is the time, it's all up to you. No matter the storm, but over tragedy. No matter the storm, but over tragedy. No matter the storm, we will always take flight. Keep on pushing through the darkness of night. There's no limit, let's reach for the sky. Shine so bright, from darkness to light.
It's a traditional spiritual system of the Yoruba people of Nigeria.
Ifa is an African traditional way of life. Some may call it a spirituality, some may call it a religion, but it's a way of harmonizing ourselves with the world around us, the universe around us, so that we can flow through this life.
Ifa is the study or the observation of life. When you study and observe life, you begin to recognize things about yourself, others, your community. It's countless revelations. Ifa is a way that we focus that intent, focus that observation.
Ifa is a way of life. And through that, we study a way of life through the deities of nature that are explained through nature. And in Ifa, we believe in one God. And we believe those aspects of God are carried out or explained through forces of nature. So those are just extensions of God, rather than we don't pray to the rain, or we don't pray to the rocks. We pray to that force of life that is through God, through those things that are living. But the practice and the traditions is just a way of life. It's just how we communicate with the Creator and our surroundings and our ancestors.
Our ancestors then are our link to divinity. They are our link to divinity. That's the best way to explain it, that we are praising our ancestors because also what they provide for us is a divine record of consciousness of our family. They are the divine internet. If we are trying to draw on our own personal files within the memory of our own computer, then our access to information is limited. If we take that same computer and connect to the internet, a whole different thing happens. It's the same computer, but now it's connected to the internet. The analogy is that we are the computer. That if we try to rely on our own brain to come up with all the answers that we are dealing with on a daily basis, especially in the world of oppression like this, in the world of unfairness like this, in the world of injustice like this, in the world where we see things being destroyed that we care about, then we are indeed lost, because all we have is our one lifetime. When we draw upon the lifetimes of our ancestors, it's like our computer is now connected to the divine internet. And once we connect to that internet, then we have answers that extend across lifetimes. We begin to see patterns in our family. We begin to understand patterns of our resistance in the family. We begin to understand the things that the ancestors did and why.
We honor our ancestors. First and foremost, ancestors are the foundation. And an Obahnjoko is a ceremony that helps us to communicate and honor and give thanks to the ancestors. Egun is the Yoruba word for ancestor. And Joko means to come sit.
To come sit, okay.
Yes, so Obahnjoko, come sit. We invite the ancestors to come sit with us. We make offerings, we say prayers, we make requests, and then the ancestors give us the messages, and the messages that we get, we know are from them because we have appealed to them to come.
Ori, O means he, she, or it. Re means to see. When we look at our head, we can see that our head is a site of all of our senses. We hear from our head, we see from our head, we smell from our head, we taste from our head. We touch, we think of touch being here. But all too often, we can actually pick up something that's not hot enough to burn our hands, but yet we can burn our mouth with it. So I say, touch is most sensitive here as well. You see what I'm saying? So that puts all 5 of our senses as having their strongest locations within our head. Ori is the convergence because of that sensory region, but also the sensory apparatus. It allows the energy of the spirit to enter. It allows the energy of the heart to enter. It allows the energy of the body, of the mind, to be a part of the process, so that all of that is taking place inside of physically or metaphysically the head. So that's what we call the Ori, that place where the mind, spirit, and heart meets. Orisha. Yeah, Ori again means the head. Sha means to own. Yeah, so the owner of the head. Each elemental force within the universe, and there's 7 primary that we kind of lean to in the New World. Those forces are capable at the child's birth of connecting to that child because they understand that child's path. And they, in principle, are connecting to that child. The principle is connecting to a personality. So it can manifest itself down on this plane to make the will of God be known and happen here on this plane. Those Orisha are selecting that child. And because that child is choosing his destiny, in a sense, it's also selecting that Orisha. So that Orisha is a selected head. That child is a head that's been selected. So there's a selected head relationship that goes on between those two.
Orishas are, like I said, the forces of nature. In Voodoo, they're called the Loa. In the Kemetic system, they are the Netters. They are functions of God. They are messengers. They are the forces of nature.
Eshu, Ogun, and Ochosi, which in simpler terms are called the warriors of Ifa. Why that? They open up the way for you. Okay. Those are the ones that when your life, they go to bat for you to make your life better.
I don't know if you are familiar with the revolution in Haiti, the story of Toussaint Louverture. And it's reputed that he first went to Ogun to help the fight to overthrow the French, and Ogun refused. So he went to Gede, which is Ilegba, and Ilegba agreed to help him. They made the right sacrifice. But the switch is that they gained their independence, but the French, they were so mad that they kept them impoverished. So maybe someone didn't do the full sacrifice. I don't know.
Because that was the same thing we had done in New Orleans, was create this syncretism, you know, because what had happened was that we could not openly and overtly practice African religion. When we began to understand Christianity, that's one of the things I think people don't give us credit for. We did not hear the stories of all the miracles that we heard from Christianity for the first time. The raising of the dead is nothing new in Africa. You know, the divine or miraculous birth is nothing new in Africa. You know, so with that, when these things were brought to us in Portuguese, in English, in French, in Spanish for the first time, we were not hearing them for the first time. We were hearing them in those colonial languages under those auspices. And so it's easy for us to become very good Christians in that sense, because now we needed it for our survival. So outwardly, as we would say in New Orleans, we're 90% Catholic and 110% Voodoo. Music is very important in Ifa for the simple reason that we know music is vibrations. The vibrations are wavelengths. Wavelengths are capable of changing human consciousness. We already know that when we measure a person's brain waves, we can determine alpha, beta, and all the different signatures of brain waves is oscillations. When we look at a rhythm, we actually know that too is an oscillation. When we look at the colors of the Orisha, assigned to the Orisha, each color is a wavelength. Each wavelength of color carries its own oscillation. So what we're doing in music is actually creating sonic colors. We're actually creating sonic colors that affect the 7 energy centers of the human body. When we affect those 7 energy centers, we're able of moving that energy around, so at an instant level or instantaneous level of super consciousness can find itself an open door in that person. And we find what's sometimes called possession. And in that person is capable of doing things that they do not do. To hold a knife and put it against your hand and not cut yourself. To hold fire and not burn yourself. To heal a person because you touched them. These are things that a human being is not normally capable of doing, rather than when there's a super consciousness that has replaced that personality with a greater personality, because this door has been opened, this gateway through which this energy has flowed, because music has opened the doorway to create that sonic vibration for that energy to ride down on, because music creates a semi-solid mass. You understand? It's like this stuff is ethereal around us all the time, but music creates a semi-solid mass that becomes kind of a worm, or not even a kind of, it is a wormhole into other dimensions, into those places, into those into the divinosphere, into the levels of life that we're not aware of around us, for it to be pulled through. When it pulls through, miracles happen.
They call him to open the path.
It is a cultural adaptation for any human being, any person. So there are things that you must adapt to culturally, but it is not exclusive. It's for human beings.
Ifa is for humanity.
It's for humanity.
It's not for
Africans. No.
It's a way of life for
Humanity. Yeah. It's just that it's the African contribution that I say would fall along the lines of Buddhism, Taoism, Hinduism, things that have an intense scientific study, an intense livity, a way that you live, and scientific and medicinal practices. You see, the scientific practices that have proven results. Ifa fits all that. So where a lot of the things that folks bring to the table, many religions around the world, they haven't done those three requirements. And then we have that last but not least is thousands upon thousands of years old. So it's being offered to us out of antiquity. Now, that's also something that can give folks an understanding that they don't have to take it as a one-dimensional thing. They can look and look and look and will always find more and more and more.
All right. Welcome to Alchemizing Energy. And today we have our special guest. We have Baba Ohbahnjoko. Welcome to Alchemizing Energy, Baba. Can you hear me? You're on mute. Okay, wait. Wait, unmute yourself. There you go. Now say something. All right, you can speak. Alafia. Okay, here we go. Yes, all right. Yes, I can definitely hear you. So I wanted to let me tell you something. It's very hard to get a.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Alafia, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Hear me now? It seems to be buffering.
Oh, okay. It might be buffering on your side. Okay.
Yes, I can hear you, but it seems the call seems to be buffering on this side.
Okay, all right. So I wanted to introduce you to the show. This is Baba Samuel Ohbahnjoko. He has been a Babalawo for years. I just wanted to get your background, how did you get into Ifa? Where do you come from? Let's just get a background on who you are.
You're kind of fading in and out.
Okay, I was just saying that I want to get a background on who you are. Who are you? Who is Baba Ohbahnjoko? Welcome to the panel.
Okay, I appreciate it. I appreciate your welcome. Baba Ohbahnjoko. I've been here in the Dallas community in the spiritual culture of Ifa for over 24 years now. Starting back in 2000, actually before then, I initially cut my teeth in a leukemia house. For those of you all who aren't familiar with leukemia is the Spanish version of the traditional culture of Ifa. That was 10 years prior to the time that I actually made sojourn to Africa. In year 2000, I went to Africa for my very first time, and it was amazing. I got an opportunity to see what the motherland was really like as opposed to what I had heard in the past. And it was so grand that I wanted to stay. Vis-a-vis, I was initiated in 2000, not only to Ifa, but also to Egungun. And the clan that I come from, which is Fagbinro Almushan clan. Ogun State, Nigeria. Gungun is also an initiation. So I went on to receive the initiation to Ifa. came back and then went studied for a period of better than 10 years before I started to divine and do the work of Ifa in the United States. And that's pretty much an overview, a quick overview of my background.
So what brought you to Ifa? Like what were you before that? Were you a Christian? Were you Muslim? What was your religion before Ifa?
Actually, I started off in the Baptist church, and I was headed toward the ministry. As a matter of fact, my best friend now in Gary, I'm originally from Gary, Indiana, right outside of Chicago. And my best friend that lives there now, that we grew up together, he is one of the most prominent states at this time. He is one of the most prominent Baptist preachers there in the United States at this time. So initially, I was headed toward the ministry of Christianity, Baptist version. And I went to school in a little school up in Indiana. Some of you all might know it by the name of Purdue. And I started, I majored in engineering and took a lot of physics courses. As a matter of fact, I aced, or that means made an A, in my quantitative physics courses, which sparked an interest on what the foundation of physical reality, or what we call reality, is all about. So from that viewpoint, I started to wonder, light, what is darkness? How far is up? Where is down? And that led me, of course, at Purdue, they didn't have those answers. And Alodamari, another term that we use for God, or the term that we use for God, led me then to Ifa, which is the cosmology of the universe. Most people identify with Ifa as being connected with and the religion of the Yoruba. But in actuality, Ifa, the Yoruba, I should say, does not own Ifa. Ifa owns the Yoruba, because all of creation is cosmological. And that's the foundation of Odu Ifa and all of the patterns of Odu Ifa in all of creation. Ashe?
Ashe. So when you say the Odu Ifa, what exactly is Odu Ifa?
Well, as I just mentioned, we look at, when we say Odu Ifa, Odu Ifa, we have to understand that all things in the universe and beyond are some pattern of light or darkness, frequency, vibration, male, female, micro, macro, the foundation of all of universal matter, things seen and unseen. Come from all matter, both physical, mental, and spiritual. Ifa or Odu Ifa is that very essence, that pattern of energy that is present at any time of darkness and light, or of vibration. Ashe, as you can see on the screen now, those patterns, one mark represents light or expansion. 2 marks in any Odu pattern represents darkness. So with the forces of expansion and contraction, all things come into existence.
Right.
Through the forces of expansion and contraction, all things come into existence. Ashe.
Ashe. So basically when you got into this, like how did you, okay, what was the thing that made you feel like, okay, this is the thing? What made you feel like, wow, this is amazing? Like when you found out about that this existed in this culture, that Ifa even existed, what was the thing that made you say, you know what, I'm gonna move forward as a priest in this religion?
If I heard you correctly, you're asking what was my major as a priest in the culture of Ifa. Is that your question?
Right. What made you become a priest? What made you say, you know what, this is the ticket? You know what, I'm not going to be a Baptist preach. I'm going to get into Ifa and become a priest of Ifa.
Well, I initially did not start off, quote unquote, wanting to become a priest of Ifa. I initially started off wanting to know more about myself within life. So I started to search for avenues. My answers didn't come from contemporary religion of any kind, not only Christianity, but I was also Samuel X before I became Samuel Ohbahnjoko.
Oh, you were in the Nation of Islam. You were in Nation of
So
Islam?
answers for the meaning of, or the purpose for my own existence. That's where I started look at various different studies or various different pantheons of religious practices and spiritual practices. Even looked into Zen and some Buddhism. Spent some time, as I said earlier, with the Nation of Islam. I searched, and eventually in Dallas, Texas, I met a guy by the name of Yashabaya, or Amalekia, Baba Amalekia, over at the Martin Luther King Library. And he was a profound teacher, still is, of the corpus or the basics of Odu and the culture of the Yoruba. So I started to work with him. I started to study with him. And I grew into more and more of an interest in the detailed learning about not only the culture, but the cosmology, or the Scientology, if you would, of the culture. And eventually I met my father in Ifa by the name of Baba Ifayomi Fatai Fai Benro. Met him over at a function in Dallas at the Third Eye. And he talked about Africa and the land of our own. And we traveled over there together. And when we traveled over there together, divination was done in Africa. And I received my Ifa, or I received my Ifa, the Ashe of Ifa. I was initiated initially to Ifa. And then after initiation, through the oracle, I was then called to go further into the ministry of Odu Ifa for others. And that's how I then started to graduate into further study and the practice of divination.
So it's interesting that you say it took you 10 years before you ever read somebody. Now, some people will pick up tarot cards and immediately start just reading people. What's the difference between reading someone in Ifa or in Odu Ifa versus a tarot card reading, or runes, or some other type of divination system? What's the difference?
Now, most people would tell you, most Babalawo would immediately say, oh, no, absolutely. There's no connection to Odu Ifa and tarot. But if I were to say that, then I would nullify everything that I've said so far about Ifa, because it is Ifa that is the Scientology, or energy patterns that create all of existence, both in the physical as well as in the spiritual world. So you have to understand that there is nothing, no thing that is outside of Ifa. Not really. You could throw bones. You could flip tarot. You can gaze into the fire. You can look for truth in the water. It all goes back to the foundation of vibration and increase and decrease of energy pattern. This is why Ifa doesn't belong to the Yoruba. The Yoruba belong to Ifa. Ashe. Long before, if you look at those patterns that you see on the screen, you see markings of 2 and markings of 1. All of those markings of 2 or 1 represent some configuration of darkness and light. This is why we pray, and then we cast. We pray to the universe, and then we cast to get the particular configuration that is present for that person. And then it takes, of course, the knowledge and the wisdom and the Ashe, or inner spirit, in connection with the Lodamari in order to divine. So anyone, I don't deny any form of divination, because divination starts within the heart and connecting and balancing your mind, body, and spirit with creation. There's many tools and
So
there's many ways to go about doing that. The key is that you must understand the fundamental of creation, which is from the unknown, which no man, no woman will ever know, came singularity. From singularity came duality. From duality, we arithmetically, we get the 4 cardinal points, which is the law, which gives us foundation of the laws of expansion and contraction, which is within itself the foundation for all of creation in various patterns.
So a lot of Christians would say that based on the Bible, that divination is evil, that you're not supposed to like divine to find out what's going to happen next or find out things. So what exactly does divination bring to the table? What does it do?
Let's for a minute before we move to that, let's kind of touch on that thing that you just mentioned about thoughts of other people. Specifically, it's thoughts of man and woman versus the truth that our ancestors observed by living in this world and making observations of how the universe operates. Let's not get those two confused. There is the truth of creation, and then there's man's interpretation or stories that they create, sometimes based upon that truth, sometimes based upon their own personal feelings, wants, or desires, i.e., the creation of religions. Ifa is not a religion. It is a way of life. It is a way of life. IFA means life and all therein. So how can you say, how can anyone say that divination is wrong when you live your very life on signs, symbols, and numbers? To say that divination is wrong is to say that you're wrong when you look out into the sky and you see clouds, black clouds in the sky, and you say, well, we may be getting ready for some rain. That is a form of divination. You're looking at the sign, and from that sign, you ascertain that what I've seen before, that this is probable to happen again. So divination has been going on since the creation of the world and beyond. There has been sign, symbol, and number from the time that the Creator brought both darkness and light into existence. Ashe?
Ashe, Ashe. So when you talk about the Odu and you talk about Odu, what is Odu? I heard that Odu is actually a female, the womb, and then that from that Odu comes. So is that what it is? Comes creation?
Your question, let me clarify, is, or paraphrase, what is Odu? What is Odu? Odu is the mouthpiece of the Creator. Let me say that again. Odu is the very mouthpiece of the Creator. You remember I said patterns of darkness, patterns of light. Well, everything only exists through some pattern of darkness and light. Your sight. You don't actually see things directly. Your mind picks up patterns through your eyes, picks up patterns of darkness and light, and forms an image. It is only through Odu that you're able to see physically or spiritually. For the darkness and light not only work for the physical sight, but it also works for the mental insight. Understand that we speak of Odu in the term of female energy. And the reason that we speak of Odu in the terms of female energy, for it is from the darkness of this singularity that all light appears. It is from this contraction within all of creation that all light appears. Therein, it is from the darkness that light is given birth. In Ifa, we say that Oyeku, the darkness, is the owner of Ogbe, meaning that everything in existence comes from darkness to light. On the other side of darkness, there is, or singularity, there is no thing that we shall ever know. Our ancestors understood that and focused their mind on understanding how to come into harmony and balance with creation rather than questioning what they knew could never be discovered. How do you discover no thing? Can't be done. Never will be done. That's when someone tells you, well, I know God. Really? How do you know that which is the creation, the creator of the unknown? How can you know something that is the creator of the unknown? Think about that. Ashe?
So, so you're saying that from that triple darkness comes the light, comes creation, comes male, female, north, south, east, west, and then you have the 16 Odu that turned into 258. Now,
No.
was this like the first
256?
Yeah, I'm sorry, 256.
Not
So
8.
I'm sorry, 16 and 256. So is that like the first binary code? I'm sorry, you guys, we're freezing up here.
I'm glad we get an opportunity to separate lie from truth. it is through the corpus, and as I said, in another lifetime, I was an old engineer. From the corpus of Ifa, I've come to understand and realize that the very binary code, which is the foundation of our mathematical system, came through Odu Ifa. Ache,
Ashe.
look at your lineage. This is why ancestral veneration is so important. Look at your lineage. It is from that singularity, or the great mother, Odu Ifa, the cosmic egg, that all things came into existence through duality, through duality. Well, 2, 1, first, 0, representing the unknown, gives us from the unknown, as I said earlier, singularity, 1 comes into existence. 1 and 1 gives you 2. How many parents do you have? 1 mother, 1 father. How many grandparents do you have? 2 times 2 gives you 4. I say,
Ashe.
great grandparents, 8. Great great grandparents, 16, which is consistent with the 16 major Odu Ifa. 16 then turns into 32 at the next level of grandparents. 32 to 64 arithmetically, to 128, and then 128 to 256.
Wow.
So you understand that the Odu Ifa, within the very structure of our DNA. That is, for those of you all who like numerical proofs. Ashe?
Yeah.
Ifa is the foundation of your binary system that now works all things that you see technologically in terms of bits and bytes, 0 and 1, darkness and light within all of creation. Archie.
Ashe. I want to show you a picture, and I'm going to ask you about this. And you tell me what you think of this. Do you know what that is? Do you know what that is, Baba?
Looks like the kaleidoscope.
The collider. Yeah, that's the Large Hadron Collider. And that is what they are using to try to create dark matter and bring dark matter into existence and to find out and to study creation itself.
Mm-hmm.
What does that look like to you?
Looks like some machinery that man has put together that he thinks is going to give him the answers that is unknowable. Man, people have been making an attempt to better understand creation forever. And I don't knock that. I think that there is some validity in science. The only problem with science is when the arrogance of man oversteps the submission to the universe or to the unknown. How can it make sense to you or to anyone else that you can start to understand darkness when we have yet to scratch the surface of light? I would challenge anybody to give me an intelligent answer of the meaning of darkness and light other than the energy within the universe that we see that operates in contraction and expansion. That's like saying that you're going to discover how rhythm is made, that you're going to discover how a child comes from the darkness to the light. I'm not talking about in the mother's womb. I'm talking about before the parents meet. You're going to give me an explanation scientifically of how that happens? Totally impossible. Our minds don't even think infinitely. What we categorize, what we perceive in our head as infinity is not that. It's only to the extent of our mortal or physical and or spiritual existence that we be. Our ancestors understood that.
So when we talk about Odu Ifa and we talk about destiny,
which made the possibility of miracles or what seemingly looked like miracles to be. That's why even today man is not able to comprehend what our ancestors did some 30, 40, 50,000 years ago. We're still dumbfounded on how pyramids were built. And we're going to now define or create darkness? Well, if you want to believe that, then I have swampland in Louisiana that I can sell you real cheap.
Right. We haven't figured out how they made the pyramids, but we're going to figure out darkness. Yeah. Which is the beginning of everything. Yeah, that's interesting. So, here's another question. When you talk
I mean,
about
you don't know
destiny,
how to you don't know how to put your shoes on, but you're going to tell me you're an Olympic runner.
right. So when you talk about Odu and destiny, how does that come into play? Because of the divination system, you're able to determine whether a person is on path or off path based on the readings from the Odu. Explain how that system works.
Monica, you are absolutely a charm. Because it's very few people that would have gone into that question. When you look at destiny, it is something that we must grow to understand from the standpoint, first, that there is a creator, which all things flow. That's where you put your first foot down. There is a creator from which all things flow. The unknown creator from which all things flow. So now that that is an evident fact, or it's evident for you to see, then by observation, our ancestors started to look at how things took place, how things fell. Sometimes the flood came, sometimes it didn't. Sometimes tragedies would overtake a land, pestilence. Sometimes it wouldn't. They started to understand that there was a destiny or a balance of nature that was predetermined, that in fact they were a part of. So destiny is a dance with nature. Destiny is a dance, is your dance with nature, with creation. And as the white boy Einstein said, God does not play dice with the world. Everything that has happened, that will happen, is preordained. For if it were not, it would not have happened. We call that happening destiny. And this is why we pray and ask for guidance to see the balance in how we must travel. It's a dance. Destiny is not a destination. It is a journey. Most people do not look at it in that fashion.
So
they look at it as someplace that you will arrive. It's not someplace you will arrive. It's someplace that you are going.
So when you talk about destiny, it's like, you know, and people probably even only tie destiny to what they live on this earth, right? They don't realize that their destiny probably happened time and time again. That's where you get reincarnation, right? So your destiny might not even be over once you even pass on and end of cycle. Your destiny probably keeps continuing on and on and on until whatever happens in various lifetimes.
Well,
would you say that?
Well, Monica, what you're talking about now is not conjecture. I said what you're saying now is not a conjecture. What you're saying now is an observable truth. As far as we can see, as far as we know, things are born into this universe and continue to evolve, transform, transcend, change sizes, colors. Suns become moons, moons become stars, stars become the infinite universe. It's an explosion, it's an implosion. It is the microcosmic dance of creation that continues to go on. This is one of the reasons for the chant we do for Oya. When we say Epa Yansa, Epa Oya, the only constant in the universe is change. You can't fight against the wind. You'll lose. You can't fight against the wind. You'll lose. Ashe?
Ashe. So, for instance, when you go into destiny, right? So, one thing that happens when you do, when you get a reading, you do a divination, you have a thing of being on path or off path, right? So, is that mean so where you have what is it called? Where you're Iray or you're in Osobo? That means that you're not on path, right? And then things can be done if you are off path to help you get back on track, right? And that's more about by vibrations and things like that, things that you do to kind of put yourself back in, whether it be sacrificial, whether you maybe go down to the river and give something to whatever Orisha. We didn't get into the Orisha yet, but you might have to deal with nature to get back on track because you are going against your nature in some kind of a way, and that particular Orisha might have to step in and help you get back on track. and that's another vibration, that force of nature.
Well, let's take the spookism out of the picture. For far too long, we have talked in terms of a carnal state or a mundane state of, or here's what I'm looking for. For far too long, we have expounded too much dogmatism. Dogma has to do with, if you don't do this or you don't do that, you're going to go to a place where you're going to perish and burn forever throughout eternity. Or if you don't do 5 of these sit downs and get ups, your life will be ruined. Stevie said, when you believe in superstition, it may wreck your chances for success. Because the mind, through the power of vibration, brings into existence what it believes. The mind brings into existence, the mind, there is a power of the mind as a receiver from the universe that creates. We all are a form of the God. We all and everything within us is a form of creation. All that we have in here is all that there is out there. I am because we are because I am. Understand that when we make offering, when we are told to position ourselves in a certain way or are given directions, it's all about, which everything is, our coming into harmony and balance within self. I know you've heard that old saying, know thyself. So when a Babalawo, Ifa, or you receive guidance and direction from sign, symbols, and numbers, you move forward to do the best that you can to come into harmony and balance with creation. That's what sacrifice is all about. It's not about how much you can pay somebody or how much somebody is going to receive or what the cost of this must be or how you feel or you may think about what should be done or what should not be done. Understand that we're in constant flux. We're in constant balance in this dance of creation. And that's what our sacrifices, that's what our giving, that's what our spiritual discipline is all about. Is all about. Don't get glued or don't believe the hype. Don't believe the hype. You can become a diviner. All of us have the power of divination within us. We come to the Babalawo, the Ifa, or the spiritual practitioner so that we may receive guidance and direction to come into a greater harmony and balance within ourselves. Ashe, for guidance, for direction, so that we can continue to grow upon our path of direction. Nobody lives life for you. Nobody creates life for you. Everyone is just as much of a part of the cosmos as you are, and you are of them. So understand, in essence, there's no such thing as little I's and big U's in this universe. Everything works together as the Creator has designed. Let us be in harmony and balance with understanding to the best of our ability how to come into harmony and balance within it. Ashe.
Ashe. So what is the concept of good and evil within Ifa? Is there a concept of good and evil in Ifa?
Another good question. And I'm probably going to step on some people's toes when I say this. But to answer your question, there is absolutely no such thing as bad and good. I said there is no such thing as bad and good.
What?
The universe, the universe operates. The universe operates in increase and decrease of energy pattern. The universe operates an increase and decrease of energy pattern. Absolutely. Thing as balancing within yourself, absolutely. There's a yin and there's a yang. However, that yin and yang is specific, just like your fingerprint or your voice or your thoughts to you. We're going into defining the meaning of iwapele, or character. Character, thought of what is right and what is wrong, what is good or what is bad. That's not character. Character is defined by your ability to grow into a harmony and balance. Character comes by your connection with source and your constant movement upon your path of destiny within this creation. You'll notice I didn't say life. Within creation, which extends past your elevation from this life.
So when you say there's
because
no,
you were before you are, and you are before you were. So there's no time that you have not existed. And there's no time that you will not exist. For in actuality, there's no such thing as time. That is something that man has developed in order to track for himself.
so
Time is a
perception,
creation of man.
so perception, so good and bad is a creation that is perceived by man to create laws and to keep things in order.
I believe you not only to keep things in order, but to serve their own selfish and mundane greed and ways. I tell you what is right. I tell you what is wrong. I tell you what is bad. And further, I punish you for not doing good or for what I perceive you have done that is bad. That's all of man's creation. This is one of the reasons why, let's say, indigenous people upon this earth have been enslaved. They have internalized someone else's perception of themselves. Never let or allow anyone or anything to dictate your circumference. When you do, when that happens, which is the foundation of this whole societal system, especially of the West, is to tell you what is expected of your life. And for the most part, that consists of being subservient to someone else's. I don't care what term you use. It's slavery. I say.
So what about when you say go into mental illness, right? How does Ifa understand what mental illness is, or say a person has schizophrenia or depression or things like that? How does the Isheshe, a religion, or Ifa understand so-called mental illness or imbalance, or what you would say?
It's an imbalance. But first, someone has to make the decision on what is ill and what is sane. Ashe? Somebody makes a decision on what is ill and what is sane. And those who make the decision on what is ill and what is sane are those usually that are the purveyors. What I'm saying here is don't get it twisted. I said this earlier. There is a such thing as imbalance in life. There is a such thing as imbalance in life. What is imbalance? Imbalance is when and whatever you do ceases to be in benefit and in harmony with your upward elevation, alignment, and enlightenment with source. It's imbalance. And we must focus on keeping ourselves in balance with self and creation. So back to your point, from an Ifa standpoint, there is imbalance in the world. There is imbalance in life. But allow that balance, allow that imbalance not to be of someone else's determination. Focus upon imbalance as being your lack of balance within your dance of creation. I say.
So he's saying. So Ahmad is asking if
that which must be your. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. We are having like a little lag, so I'm thank you guys for still sticking with us. So Ahmad L said psychosis. So is psychosis an eternal chemical imbalance? Is that what he's saying? That if you were going through a psychosis or schizophrenia, like say a person goes out and is a serial killer, we can't say the word.
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
Well, the question. Okay, wait a minute. Okay. Let me address that. First of all, when you say psychosis, this is by who and for what? By who and for what? Let me go further with you on this.
Repeat what you just said about psychosis because you kind of cut out there. You said psychosis is what?
I said psychosis is a term, or a label that has been created. My question is, by whom and for what? Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about here with our great brother and friend, Nat Turner. He was labeled psychotic. By some. Because he said he woke up one day and in the rustling of the wind within the leaves, God spoke to him and gave him the order to go out and slay his slave masters, their wives, and their children. Caught him. They came in and they asked him, Nat, how could you do such a thing? Why would you do such a thing? He said, I did no more than any other man does in war. I go on the offense and the defense against my enemy. But not, we understand that you might have killed the slave master and maybe even his wife. But why would you kill an innocent baby in the crib? Nat said, small rats grow up to be big ones. So I come full circle with you on the value of spiritual balance. Again, remember the term, Iwa Pele, Iwa Pele. The balance that you must maintain in your spiritual walk in life cannot be labeled based upon someone else's configuration and laws that you must live by. We must understand that we can only be responsible to ourselves and to our God. And for that, we must be free. So, again, yes, there is imbalance in the world. I won't go so far as to give it all of these technical names. There's imbalance that exists, but that imbalance exists within yourself in connection with source. And it is imperative that we move forward through our life, coming into harmony and balance within ourselves. We all must do that, no matter how small, no matter how big, no matter how much money, no matter how much intelligence, educated that we might be. We must all come into harmony and balance with self.
So a lot that you just said, kind of goes against
That
what
is what
religion is.
I have to say.
Because religion is the whole, like, less about being for themselves and basically it's one thing I learned about religion, because me coming from a church, is a feeling that God is something outside of me that I have to worship, and that I'm just a person that's on this earth made to worship God, and that it's not so much about the self and balance and all that other thing. Would you say the same thing? Would you say that this way of life is more about the self versus how a religion would be more about, like, the whole? And
There's no separation there. It is exactly what we just discussed. There is, let me put this more succinctly. You are born into life with purpose and destiny. You're born into a life with purpose. Your purpose in life is to continually the elevation of within yourself. That's the primary purpose of life, is for physical, mental, and spiritual elevation into the next realm. Now, let's not get technical about what that next realm is. I'm saying that it is a journey. It is a constant elevation that you must go through upon your divine path. It's a relationship with the Creator, which extends beyond any religion or dogma. As a matter of fact, religion and dogma can get in the way of that elevation. So all of the religious philosophy, whether it be any label of religion, doesn't matter. If you're not talking about universal balance and cosmology and connection with source, you're talking about nothing. Because you know nothing. This life that we live, every man, woman is saved by his or her own belief. Let me say that again. My granddaddy taught me that. Every man and woman is saved by his or her own belief. Ashe?
Ashe. So I wanted to ask about like the connection when you actually work with Odu, the connection to the body, because a lot of the Odu, when you actually do the readings, they'll be connected to a part of the body. Like one Odu might be, and the Orisha's connection to different parts of the body. And how this system, this mathematical, and not only a mathematical but nature-based system, is also connected to biology. It's interesting how, when I like first got into this way of life, I was amazed at how intricate it was, and that these people from like thousands of years ago were able to figure all these things out and connect nature and individual things with numbers, and how those numbers come out that connect with the body, things like that.
Well, Monica, you have to understand something. When we look back at men and women, our ancestors, from thousands of years ago, their major objective in the study of life was for the benefit of survival. Let me say that again. Our great ancestors of Kemet, of Cush, of Nubia, of Mesopotamia, and even beyond that time. We lived the pattern of Odu. We lived by pattern of Odu. They might not have internalized it at the time as Ogbe Meiji or Yaku Meiji, Ogbe Meiji or Yaku Meiji, or Iwari Meiji or D Meiji or Osun Meiji or Warren Meiji or Bara Meiji or Kanra Meiji or Gunda Meiji or Sa Meiji, Ka Meiji or Torapon Meiji or Tora Meiji, Rete Meiji or She Meiji or Pao Fun. They might not have internalized it in that fashion. However, they still understood better than we do today how certain parts of the body had feelings, how the eyes not only felt, did they pay attention to how the eyes felt, but how they could see and what they could see at certain times of the day, of the night. The bush that they were guided to, just like the dog is guided to the bush if he gets hit by a car. He'll run into the bush and eat of certain plants by smell, by sight, by hearing. He uses his divine senses, which is consistent with his body to heal himself. This is called maintaining balance and connection in universal order. So we might feel that we know something because we can recite the 16 major Odus, or we know the basic meaning of what this Odu says and what that Odu says. But if that information is not in harmony and balance with the creation, it ain't about nothing. Because the ultimate is for you to maintain a balanced dance with creation and your destiny. Ashe?
Ashe.
So absolutely. There are those who understand. There are those who understand better than I the intricacies of patterns as they relate to the body, meridians, acupuncture is Odu Ifa. Diet is Odu Ifa. Meditation is Odu Ifa. Why? Because it all involves balance, increase, and decrease of energy patterns to bring you into harmony and balance with yourself. Ajay?
Ashe. So we have Western medicine now, right? And we have, Eastern medicine. So you have herbs and things like that. What would you say? Because I would say that at one point, the Babalawos and the priests, they were the doctors at some point. People would go get a reading and then they would get told, hey, this is what's going on. And then they would do certain things to treat those things, give certain herbs and this, that, the other. I know a lot of times if you see a reading, person might say it might come out, hey, you might have to work on your root chakra, might go to get some herbs. And I've seen you send people to a Asian practitioner because some of the herbs might not even exist. You sent them to a practitioner of actually like a Vietnamese practitioner that might have all the herbs that they need to fix. What do you think the balance is between pharmaceutical versus the herbal traditions of Ifa?
When we say herbal traditions of Ifa, again, we're talking about the herbal traditions of all indigenous people throughout the world. Because Ifa is not constrained to any one culture. Ifa is not constrained to any one culture. Ifa is pervasive throughout all of the earth, not only all of the earth, but all of the universe. It is the universal Scientology of existence. That is the definition of Ifa. When we look at what are we saying? Pharmaceutical. Pharmaceutical is something that man has made to suit a specific ailment or problem. Not to cure it, to seemingly suit it. And I'm sorry, I'm just going to have to tell you the truth. The objective with pharmaceutical is not to cure anything. You don't cure by addiction. Pharmaceuticals are usually addictive. And that you have to continually take them over and obtain a particular dis-ease. I said maintain, to give the illusion of maintaining the dis-ease, when in actuality, the disease continues to move forward. It doesn't cure anything. They're poisons that are meant to quell a situation, not cure a situation. So we're drug into a situation of needing to preliminarily stop a symptom rather than treat the illness, for which we have created in the first place due to our lifestyle, our diet, our thoughts, our behavior, and all of the other things that has brought us to the place where we need desperately a pharmaceutical. Is there a balance? I believe that in cases that are catastrophic, that we may rely on a pharmaceutical to bring a stop or a pause to a condition. But I do not personally, as a practitioner of Ifa, believe that in pharmaceutical medicine to cure condition. Let us use it very sparingly and with caution.
Ashe.
Ashe.
So can we say that in that society, in the way of life of Isheshe in Ifa, if we go back to the day, if we go back in time, that the earth-based religions, they would go to these priests, would get a diagnosis, and then the other priests in the community would help go get the herbs to cure the illness, and then also some suggestions will be made to cure the spiritual aspect of the illness. And we've just gotten completely away from that. When you speak of it being a way of life, it sounds like the holistic approach to things versus just going to the doctor and taking a Tylenol. It's like, well, no, let's go to the root of it. There's a spiritual aspect, there's a physical aspect, there's a mental aspect. Would you say that's what really is the core of Isheshe?
I'm sorry I didn't catch everything you said.
I was saying that
Hello?
if we were to go back in time, right? And there were no modern medicine, and we weren't before the West took over, that the priest of the community, right? You would go to them if you had an ailment. You would get a prescription. The priest would give you herbs based on that prescription, give you the things that you would need spiritually, the things that you would need mentally, and it was a holistic approach to illness versus now it's like a quick way of just going to the hospital where there's no spiritual aspect to it. It's clinical. So do you think that's the difference between how society was in the earth-based traditions versus how they are now?
Well, I'll just simply say this. We in our ancestors believed in a holistic approach to life, not only medicine, but a holistic approach to life. The eyes affect the ears. The ears affect the tongue. The tongue affects the heart. The heart affects the arms. It is a balance that must be looked upon, examined, and treated in that fashion. Modern, what we call contemporary science, does not look at the functioning collectively of the entire body, mind, and spirit. The approach is much more specific with physical remedy and what we call physical palliative arresting symptoms, which, and as I said earlier, is why it doesn't cure. We must focus upon the work that is necessary to bring harmony and balance within our entire holistic system of not only our physical bodies, but our spiritual and mental bodies. Ashe.
Ashe. And one thing I wanted to get into really quick, because we're going to be wrapping this up pretty soon, and I wanted to get more information on you, what you have going on, because I know it's about to be 2 hours. But listen, so they used to call people like you witch doctors. They used to call Babalawos and people like that work with the earth to help cure people, because you were the doctors of the community. You were the doctors. The Babalawos and the Orishas, they were the doctors. They were the herbalists. They were the ones that knew all the herbs to treat illness. But a lot of things have come to play where it's like, oh, you're a witch doctor. Oh, you're doing voodoo and you're a witchcraft and this, that, the other, right? So explain the difference when you get into witchcraft. The word witch that gets thrown around, whenever you come into a contact with people that practice this religion, they'll call you witch this or witch that or witch doctor or witch that. So let's get into that real quick before we leave, because I want to address that before we go.
I think that's a good place to culminate our conversation. The root word of witch comes from Wicca. The root word of witch comes from Wicca. That can be traced back to the Druids. From a original standpoint, we don't slander our women with the term witch. I know that there are some people in Africa and even in the United States that think that the term is cute. However, it is a term that has been used and developed by people who do not mean well for others. The Inquisition, which was an all-out Holocaust against women of the day in the 15th, 16th, and 1700s. Were given the name of witches because they studied the fluctuation of fire, Wicca. They studied herbalism, botany, mathematical, holistic balances within the mind, within the body, within the spirit. There was a takeover in European society whereby men decided that they would no longer allow the hand that rocked the cradle to rule the world, or that it could rule the world. So they decided to come on an all-out Holocaust under the name and under the banner of Christianity to destroy what they call the witches. For what purpose? To lay the foundation for economic, social, and political control. They changed the way that people were being healed. And labeled those who were healing to be some type of demonic powers consistent with dogma derived from storylines out of their own creation. Propaganda. Propaganda. They began to then, all out assault, they began to annihilate those women, many of them beneficially healing the community. So we come fast forward up to date with anything that has to do with the natural way, a holistic approach, or in contest to a diabolical system that seeks for the benefit of power, money, and advantage to destroy our people to be good. Again, if you're not living free, you're living life of a slave. This has been something that has been sold upon us through a mindset of imbalance and confusion. It is time now for us to take a new direction, to go within ourselves, to do as our ancestors did since time immemorial, is to go within and to once again heal ourselves and our communities so that we may be at peace within ourselves and within our God. Ashe, within our universal order. Ashe.
Ashe,
Ashe.
Ashe, and Ashe. Well, I would like to thank you, Baba, for being here. We're going to have to do a part 2 of this because I didn't even get some of the other questions because we really got into the healing aspect of things. We got to do a part 2, and I want to bring some more priests in so we can really have a series, like have a real discussion
Ashe.
and really bring, so we can really bring more light to what this religion is, because, well, not, well, this way of life is, because there's so much misconception. There's so much, just misconception. They don't even know the difference between voodoo. They don't know that voodoo is not like witchcraft, what they want to call it witchcraft. They've bought into the whole idea of what things really are. So I did this to create awareness. I've been online and people, when I talk about the Babalawo, they were calling it the Boogaloo and all this other stuff, making fun of the whole thing. When in reality, it's really not funny. You know what I'm saying? These people are out here to heal and to try to help people, and they dedicate their lives to helping people, to removing imbalance. So, any final words? Hello? I was gonna say, any final words?
Yes. I want to kiss you. I want to give reverence to the spirit of the divine messenger. for opening the road and opening the way for us today. I want to salute and give reverence to all of our ancestors in all of the power in the universe that be, that we call Orisha, for allowing this time and this call to take place. May we acknowledge the presence of our ancestors and realize that without them we would not be. May we forever honor their presence, for it is out of love that they gave and give of themselves. May the spirit of our ancestors continue to guide, lead, and teach us. For it is for our growth and strength that they are most concerned. May we never forget to daily thank our ancestors and take heed to their guidance to avoid severe hardship and danger as we travel upon our divine path. I give thanks. I give thanks for all. And I want to say at the closing of this talk that I prayed to the heavens for the balance and the harmony of the village of Oyotunji village, for the village of Oyotunji.
Yes, you know what? Before I
South
close out,
Carolina.
yeah.
In
Before
South
I close out,
Carolina.
I have to go ahead and show you guys this because you know, I wasn't sure. Yeah.
For recently, we have had the transition of our young king. May the ancestors, may the Orisha, may the Orumole, and all of the powers that be now descend and bring order, structure, and divine balance to everyone and everything that surrounds our village of Oyotunji. For it is our first and only, this is our king, it is our first and only village that we have here in this United States that we can call our own as Africans in this American diaspora. Let us hold high the life the honor, and the legacy of our great king. Epa, epa, epa. Oh yeah, may you open the road and open the way for health, wealth, peace, and prosperity as we move forward now at this time of restoration. Ashe, ashe,
Ashe. Ashe.
ashe.
Along a quiet road in Sheldon, South Carolina, there's a sign that reads, "You are leaving the United States. You are entering Yoruba Kingdom. Welcome to Oyotunji African Village, the only village in North America built by priests of the Orisha voodoo cults as a tribute to their ancestors." This is the story of a unique community where African traditions are alive and well. Oyotunji Village was founded in 1970 by Walter Eugene King, a Detroit native who was determined to reconnect with his African roots. As a teenager, King immersed himself in the study of Afro-Haitian and ancient Egyptian traditions. His journey took a significant turn when he encountered the Catherine Dunham Dance Troupe in New York City. The troupe, known for its deep connection to African diaspora cultures, inspired King to delve deeper into his heritage. In 1959, during a trip to Cuba, King became the first African American to be initiated into the Orisha priesthood. This was a pivotal moment, and from then on, he was known as Efuntola Osageman Adefunmi. With a renewed sense of purpose, Adefunmi returned to the United States and established the Yoruba Temple in Harlem in 1960, a spiritual and cultural hub for African Americans seeking to preserve their African heritage. The 1960s were a time of profound change in the United States, marked by the rise of Black nationalism. Influenced by this movement, Adefunmi began to envision something extraordinary: a separate African American nation that would institutionalize and commemorate ancestral traditions. This vision became a reality in June of 1970 with the creation of Oyotunji African Village. The name Oyotunji means Oyo rises again, symbolizing the rebirth of the ancient Yoruba kingdom of Oyo in a new form on the shores of South Carolina. Adefunmi also established a new lineage of the priesthood, Orisha Voodoo, to emphasize the tradition's African roots. Over the years, more than 300 priests have been initiated into this lineage. The African Theological Arch Ministry, founded by Adefunmi in 1966, now serves as the umbrella organization for the village, promoting education, spirituality, and cultural preservation.
Oyotunji Yoruba African Village is one of its kind in North America today, in that it's the only African village with a king, with queens, with king's wives, with chiefs, a school, a library, and all of those good things.
In its early years, Oyotunji Village was a thriving community, home to as many as 200 people. The village was a sanctuary where African American families could live according to the teachings of the Yoruba tradition. Life in Oyotunji was deeply spiritual, guided by a religious understanding of the world as being filled with the energies of the Supreme Being, Olodumare, the Orishas, and the ancestral spirits. These spiritual energies were honored through rituals, chants, music, offerings, initiations, and annual ceremonies. The village was governed by an Oba, or king, in the Yoruba language, who led the community with the support of an appointed council. The residents of Oyotunji were committed to preserving their cultural heritage and passing it down to future generations. Religion is at the heart of life in Oyotunji. The Orishas, divine spirits that represent natural forces like rivers, storms, and fertility, are central to the community's spiritual practices. Each Orisha has its own temple in the village, where priests and priestesses lead rituals that have been passed down through generations. These rituals are not just religious practices, they are acts of cultural preservation, connecting the people of Oyotunji to their African ancestors. One of the most significant religious events in the village is the annual Igungun Festival, where the spirits of the ancestors are believed to visit the living. The festival is a vibrant celebration filled with colorful masquerades, drumming, and dance. It's a powerful reminder of the enduring connection between the past and the present in Yoruba culture. Today, Oyotunji is a much smaller community than it was in its early years, with fewer than 10 African American families living in the village. However, the commitment to the teachings of the Yoruba tradition remains strong. In 2005, after the death of Efintola Osejiman Adefunmi, his son, Adejuigbe Adefunmi II, was appointed as the new Oba. As the 14th of 22 children, Adejuigbe Adefunmi II continues his father's legacy, leading the community with the same dedication to preserving Yoruba culture and spirituality. Over the past 40 years, Oyotunji has had a significant cultural impact, not just within its own community, but also across the United States. The village's educational programs and resources, produced through the African Theological Arch Ministry, are disseminated through a network of priests, priestesses, and other professionals. Oyotunji hosts festivals, a trader's bazaar, and offers spiritual services such as naming ceremonies and coming-of-age rites. The community also produces films and books that document and promote Yoruba culture. Oyotunji is more than just a village. It's a living testament to the resilience and strength of African traditions in the New World. It stands as a reminder that culture is not bound by geography. It can thrive wherever the spirit of a people remains strong. As Oyotunji continues to evolve, it remains a beacon of cultural pride, offering a glimpse into a world where African traditions are not only preserved, but celebrated every day. As we conclude our journey into the kingdom of Oyotunji, we are reminded of the importance of cultural preservation and the power of community. If you're inspired by the story of Oyotunji, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more incredible stories from around the world. Thank you for watching, and until next time, let's keep exploring the rich tapestry of global cultures.
I want to have a quick moment of silence for the king, Oyotunji. All right. Thank you so much, Baba. And I hope that we are able to bring some of the people up, that were a part of that great experience. Um, we gotta keep it going. We can't let it die. Can't let it go. We have to support this movement. We have a lot of different things happening on the political atmosphere. And when I want to bring you back, I want to discuss some of those things. So there's going to be a part two, and we're going to be discussing some of the things that are happening right now in politics when it comes down to the ADOS movement. It's a new thing called the Foundational Black Americans movement, and they all believe that Pan Africanism is dead. Which I think is a sad thing. Because when you separate us all, when you separate us from our roots, where what do we have? What do we have? So, um, again, I want to thank you so much. Um, again, so okay, guys, Ashe, Baba Samuel Obanjoko, thank you so much.
Ashe. Much
Ashe.
peace and prosperity for you all. May you all go with long life, enduring prosperity, and peace of mind.
Ashe.
Ashe. Ashe.
Ashe.
Ashe. Oh, by the way, I'm currently residing here in Athens, Texas, at the Divine Temple of Truth. If anybody wants to contact me, feel free to do so directly. The number here is 214-259-5289. I'm here. May you all go in peace. Ashe.
Ashe.
Alchemize your energy. Darling, let your spirit be free. Don't give up. Keep on pushing through. Now is the time. It's all up to you. Alchemize your energy. My friend, let your spirit be free. Don't give up. Keep on pushing through. Now is the time. It's all up to you. No matter the storm, but over tragedy. No matter the storm, but over tragedy. No matter the storm, we will always take flight. Keep on pushing through the darkness of night. There's no limit, let's reach for the sky. Shine so bright from darkness to light.